Welcome to the Leveraged and Loving It podcast, business advice for coaches and thought leaders. And now your host, Renee Hasseldine.
Welcome to the show, Sue. So great to have you here.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Thanks for having me. Love an early morning chat.
Awesome. All right. So for those who haven't met you before, can you give us a bit of background and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes. Hello, I'm Suz Chadwick. I'm a bold branding business coach. I've worked in the branding space now for, I want to say 9 years. So obviously I started when I was 20.
Yeah, clearly.
Obviously. And I have worked with large global corporates on things like employer brand. And then I started working with small businesses probably about 5 years ago in my business, The Connection Exchange, when I started helping girlfriends who had gone on maternity leave. They were like, I don't want to go back. And they were highly qualified. How do I do this on my own? And I had built up a business in a corporate from scratch. So I started helping them with wines over dining room tables. I was like, what is this amazingness? I love it. Totally in my happy place. And they were like, you need to be doing this. And so they just started referring friends. So I kind of started to get people coming to me and I'm like, I think I need to register a business and all of that. So that's how it all started. And so now I work with women, both locally and globally, around how to build confidently bold brands, which is how do they build a personal brand? How do they create a unique and standout message to attract the people that they really want into their business and their world? In a nutshell.
Love it. I love it. And it's great to hear you talk about that, because what I find, for the corporate refugees, a lot of people who decide, I don't want to go back, is they kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. They forget that what they were good at in corporate and then try and create a whole brand new online business that has nothing to do with what they've done before and then go, why am I struggling? So it's so great to hear you say that, you took what you were already great at in the corporate world and just did it on your own and managed to make it work because you were already great at it.
Yeah. And I think for me, I still straddle the corporate and the entrepreneurial space. So I work with senior execs and CEOs on building bold personal brands. And I think for me, the word bold, I always talk about language when it comes to branding because it makes us feel a certain way. And bold for me has been gold, because I get people that
bold
call
is
me.
gold.
I know. I didn't even mean to
why?
rhyme, but it just happens. I get people that call me and they're like, we want to be bold. We want to stand out. We want to break the mold. We want to do things differently. And we don't know how to.
Break the mold. Have you made a rhyme? I feel like you need almost like a Dr. Seuss book about this.
I talk about that all the time. I'm like, bold is about you choosing to break the mold in your industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's, I'm a very hot pink gold pom-pom type of person. If you're watching the video at all, that's what my background's
There's
like.
a little bit of pink.
Little bit. But I always say you can be beige and bold. You can be baby blue and bold. It's really about you choosing to stand out and do things differently in whatever it is that you do. So bold as a word has been, it's been a big attractor for the right type of people for me, which has been great, whether it's in corporate or in small business.
Yes. Okay. So comparing the corporate and small business, because it's been, a few years now since you've broken out. What would you say were the kind of major differences between working in the big corporate world and having those big clients and working in small business and those, startups and people, going out on their own? What are the differences that you find?
The main thing is agility. So there's a couple of things. Is that obviously when you're working with a corporate, there's a million layers to get through in order for things to change and happen, which kind of kills me a little. It kills me. Yeah, it does kill me. And I still work with corporates as well. So this is not that's not ended. And so it's really influencing that. So I think that that's the one thing that I struggle with in the corporate space. And also when I do branding projects, when you're working with branding and marketing teams who have been there for a really long time, and they're kind of like, no, this is how we do it. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a bit old school. Let's try something new. And so that's something that I have to work through. But then with small businesses, I find that when you go into your own business, you no longer have a big brand to front you
behind.
And so it's very personal. It's like if somebody doesn't buy your thing, then a lot of people feel like that's a very personal thing that they have to deal with, rejection. Whereas, when you work for an organization, it's like, well, if they don't buy the organization, like who cares? It's not me. And so that's probably, I think each area has its own positives and negatives. So corporate have a lot of money. Like they've got a lot of money to burn. They probably waste a lot of money generally as well. I remember I had a girlfriend who is a copywriter, and she's like, yeah, I work with an organization and they paid me like $18,000 for like 10 emails. I'm like, oh, that was nice for you. But so corporates have got a lot of money to burn, and then small businesses can sometimes be a bit more strapped for cash. And so that's another thing. And then the other thing is that I find small businesses and it just depends on who you're speaking to, and the business you're speaking to, it's about them stepping out and choosing to do bigger things, whereas corporates are like, yeah, let's how do we get bigger? How do we get more brand awareness and exposure and marketing? Whereas small businesses are still sort of working it out a lot of the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I work in both worlds, and it's really interesting because I find that I do work with some startups who love the fact that I work in corporate. So I've got a different way of thinking sometimes. And I've got corporate clients that love the fact that I work in the entrepreneurial space because they're like, so what's new? What are people doing? What's the latest? And I'm just like, okay, cool. So for me, it's one of my biggest differentiators.
You straddle both worlds, yeah.
Yeah, and I find some people are like, we're a small startup, but we want to play in the corporate space, so we want to work with you.
Nice.
Because you get both like areas or spaces.
Yes. Love that. I love that. And I don't know if you found this as well, but one of the other differences that I see is that when someone's used to working in corporate and then they go out on their own, they're suddenly like, oh, I have to do all the things. I'm all the departments now.
Yeah. And I mean, that is such a big thing. I think so many startups and small businesses just, I think you come in and you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to be this much. Like I thought I'd just be able to do the stuff that I love. And then it can take a long time. Like I have to be honest, like there's a lot of parts of my business that run really well, probably the things I love to do the most. And then there are the bits where I keep looking at them and I keep kind of tinkering away and I'm like, oh, I still need to get that sorted. Like I still need to do that better. I need to outsource that or whatever it is. And I've outsourced quite a bit. But there is still like one or two things where I've even thought this year, like, Suz, like you've given yourself enough time. You have not done it properly. Outsource the freaking thing. So that's, we all go through that.
Absolutely. And it's a constant learning experience, isn't it? I mean, I think, running your own business and parenting are two of the biggest personal development journeys you can go on. And then you do them both at the same time and you're like, what have I done?
Always learning, always challenges. Yeah. And I was doing a podcast interview the other day with somebody and we were just talking about the fact that it's really hard to be an expert anymore in a market that moves so quickly. And you can always be super informed and you can always be learning and growing and developing. But to kind of be like, I know it all I just don't think that it's possible anymore. I think that you can definitely be a leader if you've got unique thoughts and things like that around, where the market's going or what's happening or, having a take on certain things. But I just think nowadays we've just got to be super agile in our learning and testing and trying and
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So true. So speaking about constantly learning, what have been your biggest lessons in the last year or so?
Oh, so my biggest lessons in the last year, and there have been some big ones, and I still I'm surprised at myself sometimes where I'm like, really, Suz, did it take you that long to learn that lesson?
There are some places where I'm such a 19th year in business here and I'm just like, really? Seriously, we're back here again.
I'm sure that that's reassuring for a lot of people. Everybody goes through it. Okay, so my first biggest lesson last year is that I had a lot of things in my business, a lot of products and services that had kind of evolved, like they had just kind of grown. And I was like, oh, and I could do that. Oh, and I could do this. And so I was like, and then somebody would like, oh, we'd love you to be able to do that. I'm like, I can create a product. And I found myself with like eight, 9 different products. And yeah, like crazy. And some of them were big, some of them were small. And I just got to a point where I just couldn't do all the things. Like I was so divided with marketing things. And then people were getting a bit confused as well, where it's like, oh, so I want to work with you, but should I do that or should I do this? And I'm like, well, this is for that person. This is for that person. And I was exhausted. And then I had somebody on the podcast and we were talking and I had read the book, The One Thing. Yeah. So I'd already read the book, The One Thing. So this was not news to me, but you know how sometimes you're in a moment where something just clicks and you're like, oh, okay, that's right. That's what I need to do. And I was talking with somebody, I had a guest on my podcast from the US, and we were just saying that people like Marie Forleo or Denise Duffield-Thomas or Amy Porterfield, like all of them, it's like they've got the one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, they've got one thing. Everything that they do revolves around that one thing, leads to that one thing. And that's how you grow a multi-million-dollar business is the one thing.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, imagine that. So I was just like, how have I not? And then she was saying, when you've got the one thing, if you're a multi-passionate entrepreneur, you put all of your creative energy and excitement and diversity into marketing. Yep. And I'm like, I know this. Why have I not done this? I'm like, this is crazy. And so after that, I kid you not, I literally culled back to 3 things. And I went
almost one. It's closer to one than 9.
Well, it's one. So it's one major product. So it's one online course. Yep. And then speaking is my second revenue generator. And then I do coaching with so I'll do coaching with executives and CEOs or personal brand coaching. Yeah. So those are the 3 things. And one, life was so much easier and better to plan and not be trying to do all the things and having more space and time to think about my strategy and execute things and having a very clear message to market about what this is and who this is for. And then everybody was basically like, how do I work with you? I'm like, the only way you can work with me is Brand Builders Academy. Like, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
How much easier is it?
Oh my gosh. I was just like, that's amazing. And so that was one of the biggest lessons from last year. And basically 10x those things because those were the only things that I was focusing on. And then also just focusing in on who I was surrounding myself with. So, you know, and once again, know this. But just had to really, I know, like sometimes I'm only
laughing because of course I've never done these things, right?
I know. But anyway, and so I kind of had 2 people that I made a conscious decision to start to have catch-ups with. And they were people where we complemented each other. So, you know, I was able to help them with certain things and they were pushing me in other areas. And that was amazing as well. So I feel like those are 2 of the main lessons in the last 12 months that I have, that I've had. And for me this year, it's really about going global. So that's my word. I've got 2 words for this year is global and ease. And I feel like they kind of are a little bit conflicting, but I'm like, no, I will go global with ease. Did you have a word for this year?
Do you know, I usually do. And I just realized as you were saying that, I'm like, shit, I haven't worked out what my word is for the year. Damn it. I can't even
Some people went anti-word. Some people went anti-word. They're like, I don't have a word. I'm like, okay.
It was not a conscious decision to not have a word. It was I forgot to do that.
I think that's fine. I think for me, I just really like I've got my vision. It's stuck on my KKK whiteboard on the side here. And I've got my vision. And I always just think, right, in order for me to take that vision to the next level this year,
Mhm.
What's the one thing I want to focus on? And so
Yeah.
that's where my word comes from usually.
Yes.
And so I was like, something I will grow more in Australia, but I actually want to really start to hit the US and Europe and stuff like that. So that was my driver for having my
Fab.
words.
So I do know what one of our major focuses is this year though, and that is we've just hired a BDM.
Oh my gosh, love it.
And I'm so excited. That's business development manager for those.
Yeah.
Sorry about the 3LA. That's 3-letter acronym. See, us ex-corporate people are just going to like annoy you now.
What about your KPIs and your SLAs? And yeah, I get it.
It's funny though.
That's so good. Well, congratulations.
Yes,
That's
thank
amazing.
you. And this is after years and years and years, because like talk about focusing on what we're really, really great at. And I was thinking about this recently because I had to find, because the podcast is turning 3.
Oh, congrats.
And I was going back and we're, as part of the celebration, we're finding the top. Well, the challenge was to find the top 5 episodes of the last 3 years, and I could narrow it down. I got it down to 7.
Okay.
And one of the ones that made it into the top list is one that I refer to constantly, and it's Peter Cook from Thought Leaders, because in that, when we're talking about, being a thought leader in our role as a thought leader, he says our job is to think, sell, and deliver. And I've repeated that. Like that was episode 2. Episode 2, 3 years ago.
Love it.
And I say it over and over to myself, but I quote him all the time on that. And I realize I've kind of
I'm going to quote him on that as well. I'll be like, you have to listen to this podcast episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do the think and the deliver stuff. I do great. And the sell, I don't. But I felt I kind of forced myself because but Peter said that was part of my job. And you know what? I'm just not a salesperson.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I avoid phone calls. I just... Rosie, Charlotte, and I are both like that.
That's awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awkward. It's awkward. Well, if I see in my calendar, I've got 10, virtual coffees booked this week, which are, not sales.
Is that your discovery call type thing?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Then I look at it and think, oh God, I'm drained already.
Oh no.
And, I have been pushing this rock up a hill for 19 years.
Yeah.
And I'm finally just going, you know what? I'm really good at the models. I'm really good at doing the creation and the innovation. And I don't have to be the person who does the selling.
100%. You know what I'm really bad at? Look, we're just like, this is now business confession time.
Business confession.
I'm really bad at list building. Yeah. So if you give me a stage, I can sell till the cows come home. I can train, I can teach. I love it. Webinars I love, so I don't mind the sell. I'm like, bring it. I come from a recruitment background, so we're like born sellers. But list building, so that's something I want to outsource this year, because that's what I was talking about earlier, where I'm like, okay, Suz, you've tried this now for quite a long time. It's time to give up the ghost and get somebody better than you to do this for you. Yeah. I think, hey, outsource, it's like outsource what you're not great at or what you don't love.
I'm so excited because this person's going to be and I'm excited because my Authority Accelerator program, it's a big ticket item. I can pay decent commission to someone for this. Like they're going to make $2,000 per sale. Like I'm completely transparent about this.
Yeah.
And, they can potentially make 6 figures easily, very quickly. And then I can just focus on doing the fun bit. Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like you do. It's like a weight off your shoulders when you do stuff like that. Because you're like, something? Because when we do things that we don't love doing, it just takes up so much mental energy not doing it. Because you're thinking about the fact you're not doing it. And you know that you should be doing, should be doing it. Yeah, no, totally get it. Well done.
And I've in
virtual
19
high
years,
five.
Totally. In 19 years, I have gone through back and forth over, oh, I'm going to outsource this. Someone else is going to do this too. Oh no, I should do this because it's my product. And I've kind of teetered and back and forth. And now I'm just like, that's it. Boom, done, finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know like this stuff, what I do is going to be licensed. It's going to be global. Like I can't
Amazing.
do all of it. And so for me to be holding myself back on that one task that really is not my friend.
I hear you, sister.
Yeah. So how fun is that? There you go. So I don't have a word. Or maybe my word is BDM.
Love it. I love it. Outsource, BDM, ease, whatever.
Yeah. Awesome.
So good.
So let's talk about scaling because I feel like that's a good segue. Look at that. Look at fresh.
You've done this before, I can tell.
Oh, we've done a few episodes. So we've made it this far. It's amazing.
Classic.
So let's talk about scaling. And first, tell me what you mean by scaling. What does scaling mean to you?
Yeah, so scaling is having more clients, having more revenue, taking your business in a bigger way to your market without it being a killer. Yeah, so scale so that you grow without it all landing on you.
Yeah. So scaling doesn't mean more products.
No, not more products. Go bigger with the one thing, Suzanne. Go bigger with the one thing, Suzanne. And have all the systems and structures and strategies and support that you need so that it's not you doing all of the things and it's not creating more work.
Yes.
But you're leveraging what you've got.
Yes. And of course, she's just said the L word on the Leveraged and Loving It podcast. So we love her even more.
So I get it's like 5 points, a bell goes off, something like that.
Oh my God, that would be, I need a gong. A gong would be more me. I'm very big.
Oh God.
Passion, like where your word is bold, mine is passion. So
Love
I'd
it.
just like, boom. And then there'd be a shimmy.
Oh my gosh, if you're not watching this video, you're missing out, can I just tell you? The actions.
There's shimmying, there's everything.
No, so
the facial
good.
expressions. All right, so tell us how we scale. What are the secrets?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I think that there's probably more, but in this time space that we have, let's talk about 8 key things that you need to be thinking about in order to scale your business up. And the first one that might seem basic, but so many people don't do it, is get super clear on what it is that you want exactly. So if I was to say to you, if your business was to be what you want it to be, and it was to look the way that you wanted it to look, what exactly would that be? And I'm not like, oh, I just want to go global. Yeah, no. Like, it's like, how many clients do you want to have? Like, how much revenue do you want to have? What would a good day look like for you? Like those sorts of things. And I always say to my listeners or my clients, my community, give me a number. Like, so in the next year, I want to have 20,000 people on my email list. I want to have 100 people go through my course, which means that I would have X amount of revenue. And I want to know that my systems are going to do this, this, and this. Yeah. So that this is all happening whilst I am doing my perfect day.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. If you want to scale, know what it is that you want and be super, super specific, because if you're general, you're never going to have goals around general. No. Like, it's not like, oh, well, we're going to go global. Okay, great. What does that mean? Well, we're just going to do more Facebook ads. It's like, that's not, but a lot of people are like, oh, well, we'll just do this or we'll just do that. I'm like, no. Have a goal, have a target, know what you're aiming for, work backwards so that you can plan it out.
Yeah. Love that. And can I add in a little bit of that to what you need to be clear on in that is how many hours you're working and how many weeks you're having off per year, because so many people just forget that bit and then they burn out and then they're never going to make it.
Yeah. And something that I do, I'm looking up to my right because I've got my big planner. So I mark out all of the school holidays, and then we always book our holidays in advance. So I've got a business retreat that I'm running in Bali in June. And then I've got 2 weeks holiday with the family, and then I'm in Thailand in November. So all of that's blocked out. So when I'm planning for world domination, I've got all my holidays, I've got my kids in there, I've got all the things. And so I know when I can launch, when I can speak, when I can do all of the stuff without it killing me. And that's what I mean by what does your ideal day look like?
Yeah.
And that can be ideal week, month, year.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do the same thing with my years because I don't work. I work during school hours, during school terms. So I do not work during school holidays. And my husband's a high school teacher. He does not work during school holidays. So we get 12 weeks of family time a year. And that's for us really a really important part of the balance and the vision.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and that's not going to be the same for all our listeners. Like, but you have to be clear about what that is for you.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
do you want to work 50 weeks a year? Go for it if that's what you want. Like, there's no judgment. It's just be clear about what's right for you before you start. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's like name it and claim it and put a number on it and be really like know what it is you're aiming for. Because I just always think if you don't know what you're aiming for, you're never going to get there.
Yep. Boom.
Yeah. So
Number
that's
2.
the first thing is get really clear. The second thing is build a reputation and credibility in your niche. So the thing that I would say is if you want to scale, like you don't always have to do all the work. Like this is kind of like who is in your industry that you can leverage. There's another gong that you can leverage.
Shimmy.
My gosh, that you can work with, associate with, collaborate with, where you're accessing other people's markets as well, where they've already got the trust, they've built it up. So things like who are key players in your market who could be good to connect with. So when I first started my business, before I had any brand, I ran Epic Summit. This was back in 2015, and I had Lisa Messenger as my keynote. So she came for lunch, she stayed for the day, and then she did an evening event as well. And I ended up with over 200 women in business at that event. And I didn't have a brand at that time. So instantly I've now got like a local, specific targeted audience that know who I am because I emceed the whole day. Yeah. So I think it's just being smart around who you're collaborating with and associating with to be able to build your brand as well, because I think that can help you scale a lot faster. So one of my strategies this year is to get on more podcasts. And so I got my VA or my OBM to give me a list of like 100 potential podcasts. And now I'll be personally approaching them and having those conversations because I'm like, that is a good way to build my reputation. A lot of them are in the US, because my goal was global. So it's like once you understand what that goal is and what you're aiming for, you can kind of work backwards and go, okay, how do I build my reputation to do that scale?
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. So good.
Yeah. So I think building reputation and credibility is the next thing because people want to follow leaders.
Yep.
Basically.
Absolutely.
And then the third thing around scaling is I think it's around building your brand awareness. So a lot of times what people do is that they kind of have their customers and then they repeatedly sell to that list and they repeatedly get referrals and business, which I'm not dissing referrals. I think referrals are an amazing thing. But if you want to scale, then you've got to have a multi-pronged brand awareness approach. So you could have people who you don't know, so a cold audience, and ways that you could do that. It could be pay to play, so Facebook, Instagram ads, whatever ads. Obviously SEO, and then speaking is a big one for me. So it kind of goes a little bit with the number 2, where I collaborate with somebody who's got a big audience and then I go speak and all of a sudden I'm in front of 200, 300 people who were cold before and now they're warm. So what are you doing around brand awareness? So cold, your warm is people who might be following you. So on Instagram or socials or wherever. Obviously, you've got people who are clients, so they're your hot audience. So they might be people who are already on your list, who have bought from you and who are referring business to you. And then you've got your super fans, Pat Flynn. I don't know if anybody said it before he did, but I love it. And I've got those as well, who are people who have not actually bought from you, but they are out there being your biggest spruikers. And I've got so many of those who are like, Suz, I can't join BBA now, but I've just recommended like 2 of my friends to you. And then they join and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. She's like, they'll be like, I will join definitely in the next year or so when I can afford it or when it's a better time for me or whatever it is. And those people are just amazing because they're just out there talking about you all the time.
Yeah.
and you got to love them. And then the last one on scaling your brand awareness is collaborations, which we just talked about as well. So I think don't just kind of be like, oh, I've just got my followers and I've got my subscribers.
Yeah.
Think bigger. I always say this is one of my mottos. It's like whenever you come up with an idea, whenever you come up with whatever you're doing in your business, I want you to go, if I was thinking bigger, what would this look like? Yeah. And so when you are looking at how you're increasing and scaling your brand awareness, which is people who know you and become aware of you and start to follow you that may not have known you before, then think about the multi-pronged approach that you're taking to that. So that's number 3. Scaling is increasing your brand awareness as well. Number 4 is the magic is in the systems and automation. So I don't know about if your audience loves this sort of stuff, but I am all about the automation, not for automation's sake, but because it means that my customers are having an amazing brand experience that I have thought through in detail, and then I don't have to physically deliver that myself. I've set it up so that they're like, oh, what a great email. Oh, what a great, and I get this bonus. Oh, and I get this amazing download, or I get whatever it is. Yeah. And you're speaking to them in your brand voice as if they're talking to you. And I think that if you can create great systems and automation, it allows you to, number 1, give your customers a better brand experience. Number 2, have more people coming through your systems and your business that doesn't cost you time and money and effort. And number 3, it means you can track everything. So I have people, when they contact me, it goes into my CRM, it comes up as a hot lead. I then have a reminder to get in contact with them if they've not come back to me on things. When I send quotes, it tells me when they looked at it, when they read it, when they accepted it. They got their contract, their invoice, and I'm like sitting and having a coffee somewhere. Yeah. So creating that means that people feel like they're working with a professional. Yeah. Because the thing is, especially if you've got higher ticket items, brand experience is everything. Like if I'm paying a lot of money in my mind for something and I get a rubbish experience, I am going to be questioning whether I have spent my money in the right place or not. And that's before potentially we've even started to work together.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that this is really important, and it's something that is easily fixed.
Yeah.
So that would be number 4 for me, is the magic is in great systems and automation. And just making it easier for you to make money and to serve people in a really great way.
And it doesn't make any sense for you to be manually doing that stuff, because then you're spending less time on actually looking after your clients, and doing the work that needs to be done and giving them,
And I also think that automation takes the emotion out of it. A lot of people struggle with this. So somebody contacts them. You will have nailed this, but it's like when you look at your diary and you've got 10 sales calls. Now that has to happen at some point. But the thing is that what I find with some of my clients is that they'll have somebody inquire, and because they don't have a process or automation, they're like, oh, like I've got to find the time to do that, or I'm not feeling great today, so I don't want to like send them a message. Whereas if you've got like all of that already set up, it's just less energy. It's less energy that you have to be putting into your business on a constant basis as well. And it's not really up to how you feel, whether they get a quote or not. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I just don't feel like it today, so I'm not going to send that quote out. Or whereas if you've got some sort of automations, and not everything can be automated, but if you've got a lot of it automated, then it's just happening. Like a day after they call, they get that email. 2 days after they start working with you, they get this pack, onboarding, whatever it is.
Yes.
Cool. Number 5, scaling takes serious planning. I am all about the planning. I love planning. So here's a little pop quiz that I do like to kind of give when it comes to planning. So some things for you to think about. Do you set aside a minimum of 1 to 2 days a year or a quarter to plan? So at the beginning of the year, I normally spend 2 days where I do a full review of my business and what's happening. And then day 2 is actually going into planning mode for the next 12 months, which I break down into quarters, months, weeks, etc. So that's number 1. Number 2, I have a business strategy that I focus on every year. So that's really looking at like, how much do I want to earn? How many products and services do I have? What's the price of those products and services? Like, what does that look like? What does that mean I have to do?
Yeah.
So being really clear on that. Number 3 is I review my systems and processes in my business every year, because I always talk about, new level, new devil. Just because you've got a successful business and you're making a lot of money doesn't mean that you can't actually make things better. So it's like, okay,
Absolutely.
the systems I've got right now serve my business at the level that it's at. If I want to scale and go bigger, what do we need to do that's better than what we're doing now? That means that if I had 1,000 people buy my course tomorrow, would it break or are we good? Yeah. And so it's almost like, it's kind of speaking your future into reality by setting things up to deal with the volume that you want to scale at, which goes back to number 1. What is my big vision for scaling?
Yes.
And
yes,
if
yes,
that
yes.
was to become a reality in the next couple of weeks or month or year, do I have what I need to support that? Next planning question is, do you have a marketing strategy that supports your business strategy? And number 5.
I do. It's called a BDM.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Hey, whatever works. Whatever works. And then the last one is, I have a marketing budget and I measure what's working. Yeah, so I think that's another thing, is that when it comes to scaling, it's knowing what you're aiming for and then going, something, if I want to earn 100 grand this year or whatever it is, $1 million, well, then I'm going to put, 20,000 or 2,000 or whatever the percentage is that you want to spend. I'm going to say, I'm going to give that to marketing this year and be okay with investing that, and then measuring what's working for me and what's not working for me. And and so I think that that's really important as well.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So that's number 5, planning.
Number 5. Number 6 is building a brand and market like you love it. Yeah. So for me, it's really about, if you want to scale, you got to fall in love with building your brand, being seen as an expert, and sharing what you have, selling and talking about it. And I always, yeah, totally.
So someone in the business is doing it, it's fine, right?
As long as whoever's doing it is doing it. Yeah. Like I said, I'm about to outsource like my list building, which will be funnels and automation as well. Like, I'm just like, I just don't have the brain capacity to deal with that stuff. So however you want to do this, I don't care who does it. It's just about looking at it in your business. But the thing is that if you are a personal brand, so a lot of solopreneurs, like it's them running courses, delivering content, delivering training, whatever it is, people they want to know you. They want to fall in love with you. They want to know that they can trust you and that you're the person that they want to learn from. And so I think that in order to scale, you've also got to look at how you are building your brand personally and how you're getting out there and helping people to fall in love with you. Yeah. Because that at the end of the day, that's what we want. Like, if you think about who you've handed your money over to, like, what was it about them that made you go, yeah, I'm going to invest 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it is, in that person, because I trust that they're going to help me to get to where I want to be. And the thing is that if you're not showing up, then you're missing that opportunity for them to fall in love with you and buy from you.
I feel like you're talking to me right now.
So this is actually just a private conversation that we're having. This is just for you. And I think that that's a big thing. And I think we are, I've been sort of, at the beginning of the year, I do go on a mad learning frenzy where I just watch everybody's like 2020 trends and what's happening in the market, and a bit of Gary Vee here and there and other thought leaders and stuff like that. And then I digest it and I think, what do I think about that? Like, from my perspective, in my world, for my clients sitting here in Melbourne, Australia, what do I think about it? And so me sharing, crediting certain things, but sharing with my audience where I think the market is means that, and we were talking about thought leaders, people want to follow people with unique and original thoughts, even if it's come from a mishmash of other people's opinions or insights or experiences. It's still like, this is my filter for you, my audience, who want to be bold and who want to be unique and who want to break the mold and who want to stand out. This is what I think. And so I think that it's important for us to make that decision to show up as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Number 7, the magic is in the metrics. So know your numbers so that you can invest more in what's working and be able to track exactly what's going on. And I'm all about, like, I just think a lot of people are like, I don't have money for stuff, but I'm like, you need to invest in order to grow and build. And if that means that you have a part-time job so that you can get more money in if you're not getting clients at this point in time, work it out. Like, do what you have to do. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm not making money in my business, so I can't do anything. And I'm like, well, you can either work it out as you go, which a lot of us do. And that's not a bad thing. But I also think you've got to be smart about it as well and understand that sometimes you've got to invest in order to grow and take your business to another level. But I would always say, make sure you're looking at the ROI on things.
Yes.
And the ROI may not always be a specific number. It might be building your confidence to show up more, which then gives you the ROI of more clients coming into your business. So, I'm not like, I put in $100 and I got X. There's different ways of looking at it, but just know what's working and what's not. But the other thing I want to say with that is when you invest, do the work.
Yeah, it doesn't work if you just pay for the course and then actually don't do the work.
It's a big one. People are like, well, I've invested in courses before. I'm like, how many have you finished? How many did you actually really spend time in? Now, there may be courses that are not great. I'm not saying everything's great, but the other thing is it takes 2 to tango. You got to invest in the course and then you got to set aside the time to invest in you doing the work.
Yep.
Yeah. So your ROI needs to include what you gave as well to whatever that is. And number 8, when it comes to scaling, drum roll.
Can you say the L word so I can gong and shimmy?
It's all about leverage.
Gong, shimmy. Yep. Number 8.
That's totally going to be a new thing. Yep. And number 8, if you want to scale, you have to hire yourself as the CEO of your business. Stop being an employee and expecting somebody else to create your strategy, to look at your marketing, to understand your metrics, if I hired you, and the majority of people who have been in business, whether you come from corporate or wherever else, if I said to you, you're going to be the CEO of this business tomorrow, you would know instinctively kind of what you need to look at. Like, what are we selling? What are our products and services? How much are we charging? Who are our customers? So how much money did we make in the last quarter? Like, how much are our operating expenses? Like, how much is it costing us? What's our profit margin? Like, I feel like generally a lot of people, even though you may not have been a CEO in a big business before, we kind of know what a business needs to do. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are just doing what they have to do and they are working as employees in their business and they're not taking ownership for where the business is going, how it's growing, how it's scaling, and what it is doing.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I just think if you work like that, then your business is never going to grow. But if you make the decision to have CEO days or mornings or hours where you actually go, I'm going to work on my business and not just in it, and you look at all of those things, that is when your business will grow because you're being deliberate and doing things on purpose with a clear focus of what the end goal is going to be. And when you step up and hire yourself as the CEO in your business, you can give your employee a pay rise, which is you. And I hope that is motivation enough. So those are my 8 secrets to scaling. Yeah. I think that there's a lot more you can dig into, but just, in the time that we've got, if you can start to really think about what you're wanting to do, how you're showing up, how you're creating the systems, strategies, and structures for you to be able to give your customers an amazing experience, no matter how many come through. And you really step up and make the decision that, something, I'm not going to make excuses anymore as to why I don't know what's going on in my business. And if you need help, get it. I've got an accountant. I do my own Xero and stuff, but I've got an accountant who, helps me with stuff because I don't think that that's one place where that's not my zone of genius.
Yeah.
So I think just get the help that you need. And if you
I did accounting and finance at uni and I do not do my bookkeeping or accounting.
It's not the most fun. I just like Xero because they gamified it.
It's a happy place.
Yeah, I like to press the OK in Xero and then watch it all. And then at the end, it's like, well done. You've reconciled. I'm like, yay me. Gamify anything and I'm there with bells on. I love a good leaderboard.
I love how in Asana you can turn on so that you get like little unicorns bouncing across the screen.
Seriously,
Thank you.
so good. So good. So,
I'm going to add one more bonus thing to your scale.
Go for it.
Because seriously, you can work one-on-one with your clients easily without this. But if you want to do one-to-many, you want to go global, you need to have your intellectual property shit sorted.
Yes.
You need to have your signature system with your visual models. Otherwise, you are going to be working harder, not smarter. So if you want to be smarter, not harder, you got to seriously get the stuff out of your head and into a system.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this is like a whole other thing, but also trademark.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other podcast episode.
But yeah, the intellectual property, like you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
You've got to protect. You've got to protect
IP.
your stuff as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so if people want to find out more about who you are and what you do, where should they go, Suz?
SuzChadwick.com. You can find me on all socials at Suz Chadwick, which is SuzChadwick. But I hang out on Insta the most. I love Insta stories. I'm all about IGTV. I do lives. So come and hang out and let's like chat in the DMs.
There you go. Well, if you're an Insta kind of person, then Suz is your gal. I'm 2020's LinkedIn for me, baby.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it. Let's not get into that conversation.
Let's have another podcast. Let's have another episode about that.
Oh, so good. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. All things Suz Chadwick.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been lovely to chat with you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to Leveraged and Loving It. I'm Renee Hasseldine. Shimmy away!
For all the downloads and links mentioned in this episode, head to shareyourpassion.com.au.